Started. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Bethany Reyes. I am your elite leader, and I'm so excited you guys are hopping on tonight. I want to shout out Jennifer and Britt and Elizabeth and Mindy and NSA. I mean, Caitlin. Oh, there you go. I'm so glad you guys are hopping on. This is going to be so helpful because here's the thing, you guys. Let me pin me for a second. This is going to be so helpful because you guys are going to learn how to share your story with others so that people want to listen to you and so that you don't come across pushy. How would you like it if you were telling someone your story and they actually wanted to hear more? Instead of you trying to message someone and try to get them to listen to what you have to share about the business opportunity. Mindy says she can't hear. Does anyone have any tips for Mindy on how she can hear? I think there's probably something she has to click, but I'm not sure. So if someone want to type back in the little comment section of what she needs to do. I think you need to join the audio kind of thing. All right. So the first thing, why is sharing your story important? Well, this is all a part of Eric Worre's training. It's in your first steps, and it's also in his 20 and 30. So if he says to do it, maybe it's something that we should do, right? So Eric Worre's 20 and 30 is what I'm focusing on next month. And so one thing that is huge is sharing your story. What I love about this is, guess what? When you share your story, you can't be wrong. And yay, you got it. So you can't be wrong. And that's the cool thing about sharing your story, because, if you try to share the opportunity with someone, you might be afraid, what if I say the wrong thing or explain the business in the wrong way? Or what if I don't know what ingredients are in the products, right? There's so many ways that you can mess up, but you can't mess up your story, right? I mean, I guess you could, but not really, right? It's your story. You, and that's the beautiful thing about this. If you share your story, like you share your experience with someone, it doesn't come across pushy because it's your story, right? That's how you create that personal connection. So let's talk about the four parts to your story, okay? Part number one, you can write this down. Part number one is your background, okay? We all have a background, and we're going to talk about, and I'm going to find out what everyone's background is. That's going to be super cool to find where everyone is, right? What everyone has as their experience. Number two, you're going to write down what you didn't like, okay? Something that you weren't satisfied with, you didn't love about your current situation from your background, okay? Number three, the solution that you found. Okay, so now number three, the solution that you found. And then number four, how you feel about the future. Okay, so we're going to break this down. I'm going to show you guys how to put your story together. But first, I want to mute you guys. I mean, if you have a really loud background, you can mute yourself again. But if you guys want to share, what is your background? I just unmuted you. All right, who wants to share what's their background? Go, Elizabeth. You're on.
Okay. My background, let's see. I grew up kind of like a tomboy, and I was never really into makeup. I did and still do suffer from acne. So a solution was to start wearing makeup.
No. We're just doing background.
Oh, okay.
So background usually is like, for my background's in music. So I went to school for music, and that's what I got my degree in.
So like our career background?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm mom. That's it.
There you go. Okay, so stay-at-home mom. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yay.
Sorry, I didn't know what you meant.
You're okay. Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay. What's your background?
So my background, I have been a server most of my life, or my working life anyways. I've been a server at different restaurants, and then I spent a few years as a missionary as well. Recently working at a desk job call center, but overall mostly server.
Perfect. All right, Tessie, what were you? What's your background?
Human resources, management, and staffing in the geriatric field.
Perfect.
For now.
For now, yes. Caitlin, what's your background? Caitlin? You should be unmuted. No, I can't hear you for some reason. All right, maybe not. Samantha, do you want to share your background? Go ahead, Samantha.
I did manufactured work, and then I became a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, perfect. And Britt, what about you? What's your background, Britt?
There I am. Okay. I have been Health and Human Services working with persons with disabilities for a little over probably 20 years. And then just intermittent part-time stuff. I currently also do serving part-time. So.
Woo! Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, and then Caitlin says she was a paralegal studies and serving. Ooh, a few servers here. Mindy, what's your background? Trying to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I was in customer service and then did operations management, and now I am a stay-at-home mom.
Perfect. All right, let's see who else. Brooke, what was your background?
Oh, I just hopped on. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Well,
Your background was serving, right?
okay. Jobs, yes.
Perfect.
I literally just got on.
I know, I put you on the spot.
Okay.
And Emily, what was your background?
My background was administrative assistant, like office manager assistant.
Perfect. Okay. So you guys can see everyone has a different background, which is super cool. So your first part to your story is your background. So, whatever with your career or certain jobs you held or whatever your focus was. So some of you, it might be a stay-at-home mom. Some of you, it might have been, whatever you pursued your degree in. It might be whatever kind of jobs you held. That's your background. Okay. So you start with your background. Number two, you start and you talk about what you didn't like about it. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing my story tonight in my story group. A lot of you guys know that I'm doing that. So what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to share my story of how my background was music. So I went to school for music because that was what I was really good at growing up. And I thought, okay, I'm good at music, so might as well go to school for it. And I did a responsible thing thinking that if I went to school, I would get a great job with a great career that would set me up. I thought I was going to be able to make a good income from that. Graduated with tons of student loan debt. So I had tons of student loan debt, and then I realized there weren't a lot of options to actually make an income in my field. The music industry and music jobs are not very good paying jobs, let alone there's not really any way for you to move up in any kind of industry with that as far as being paid more. So after college, I did a few gigs, I played in coffee shops, but what I realized was I wasn't super happy. I thought this was something that was going to be happy and fulfilling, but it wasn't, and I was in debt. So I decided to just explore my passions and go on a world race mission trip to 11 countries. And I went to these 11 countries and I realized that really my purpose and passion in life is to help other people. And so I decided to move to El Salvador to open a music school because I still loved music and I still loved helping people, and I got married in the process, but guess what? I was still poor. I realized pursuing my passion for music and pursuing my passion for helping others didn't necessarily mean I could make money. And now I was married, I was a wife, and I had all these responsibilities to provide, in a sense, for my family. I was working for free, I was helping people, teaching people music, but my family was being sacrificed in the process. We didn't really have anything. We couldn't go to the movies, we couldn't go on family vacations. We didn't have any extra. We were barely making it. And I was super worried about how we were going to pay for things, how the money was going to come in every month, and then how we were going to afford to even be able to visit my family in the States. So for me, I felt like I was in a place where I kind of knew what my passions were, but I was struggling. Okay, so do you guys feel that? You see the background where I shared like what my story is, like my experiences. And then I told you guys, like, this is why it wasn't working. It didn't mean like, you don't have to say you hated your job, because you can totally love your job. It's not like I didn't love music or I didn't love helping people. It was the circumstances around it. And so that's the first two parts. That's the background and pain. Okay. Then the third part is your solution. So I can say, okay, I was married for 6 months and we were struggling. We couldn't, go on family vacations. We couldn't create memories. We couldn't do anything. And my friend posted on Facebook about mascara. And I was a little intrigued, and I said, are you making money? Because that we were struggling, and that's all I really cared about, is how I could take a better care of my family. So I jumped in, super nervous. But what I realized was you could really make money from this. It had flexible schedule. I could do this in a different country, and I could do this in a place that I didn't have, a lot of things to help me get started, but I could do it online. Okay. So I'm talking about how the solution that I found. So I found the solution that I can make money. And what I realized a few months into it is that I could actually help women, and I could help other people feel better about themselves, feel more confident, and I could still take care of my family at the same time. And here I am 4 years later. We've been able to go on 3 free vacations. We've been able to go on free family vacations, and then also afford to go on other vacations. And we were able to buy our first home. So now I'm able to put all my passions together. I can still help people and help my family at the same time. Okay, so you see how that kind of came all together, and how I talked about how those pains now are resolved with this business. Okay, so what you want to focus on is your background, the pain because of it, the solution that you found through this business, and then talk about your hope for the future. My hope for the future is that I'll be able to expand the women that I'm able to help through this business while still being able to be present with my family and create those memories. This year we're going to Greece. So you talk like that. Okay. So you kind of see it. Obviously it's not super refined. I'm being very just the raw story with you. Obviously it's not super polished, but that's so you guys can see how you're kind of putting everything together. So what do you think? And some of you guys went to our training last Saturday. So what do you think is the most important part to your story? Okay. You can raise your hand. I know some people's videos aren't on, but for those that are, raise your hand when you think it's the most important part. If you went to my training, you can't vote. Okay. Do you think that number 1, your background is the most important? Raise your hand if you think the background is the most important. Okay. Number 2, raise your hand if you think what you didn't like was the most important. Number 2. Number 3. Okay, Samantha, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think the solution was the most important. Raise your hand. Okay, Caitlin, Emily, and Mindy, Maria. Right, number 4. Who thinks that how you feel about the future is the most important? How you feel about the future. Okay, Emily thinks that one too. All right, so I'm gonna lower your hands now. Guess what? The most important is number 2. And the reason is, if you've gone through Eric Worre's training, he says no one cares about you and how special and amazing your life is. All they care about is how they can connect and relate to you. So people might not be able to connect to your amazing life that you have now, or whatever, but they're able to connect with your pain, because we all have pain. Your backgrounds might be different. Your solutions might be different. Your future might look different, but your pain is the same. We all bleed. Okay. So when you're sharing your story, your most important part to your story is the pain. Obviously you want to say solution, but have you ever seen someone post about their business on Facebook and all they say is, I've done this before. Okay. I'm one to blame. And people probably roll their eyes at me sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is amazing. I just earned another free vacation. I've always wanted vacations with my family, and here we are. It's amazing. I love my life. This business is so cool. How do you feel? Some of you will be like, okay, cool, great for you. That's good. But if I started out with my pain first and I said, you know what? I remember our first anniversary and we scraped together some pennies to be able to stay at a hotel for one night to celebrate. And it was really hard because we didn't have hardly anything to pay the bills. So I felt super guilty that we spent the money to celebrate. And I didn't want to feel guilty anymore. I didn't want to feel like worried about waking up the next day and whether we were going to be able to make enough money, if Victor was going to be able to sell a painting or not. And I felt guilty for also wanting to help people, but not being able to help my family. And then I found out about this business. And now for our anniversary, we went on a cruise and I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to worry about where the money was coming from. You see the difference? How like, if I just say, yeah, go me, I'm so awesome, people are like rolling in their eyes, they don't care. But if I say the pain of like what I experienced, then people are like, I feel that. Like I've been there. I understand it. Does anyone have a question about that? Can you guys feel the difference? Okay. So can you see how this can be so powerful when you share your story with someone? Because sometimes we're like, you should do what I do, you know, and it's very surface level. But if you share your story with someone, guess what? That's a deeper connection. You've connected with someone, you've related with them, and then now they can see more clearly how this could help them, right? Because if they say, Bethany had the same pain as me, and this was the solution for her, then they connect the dots and say, maybe this could be the solution for me. You see that? Rather than you just saying, hey, you should totally do this with me. Let's do this together, which that sometimes works. But can you feel the difference? How this could like do like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is practice your story and writing it down. On the Eric Worre's thing, there's like a printable document. You could even do that, but all you need to do is write down your background. Okay. Write as much as you want, just get it out, like blurt everything out. Then write down what you didn't like. Remember, this is most important. So you want to be thorough, like emotion, pain, frustration, stress, worry, doubt, guilt, like all of those bad feelings. Then number 3 is the solution. And then number 4 is your hope for the future. Now, here's the thing. If your life hasn't all like turned out perfect, that's okay. When you talk about the solution with this business, you talk about, this is why I decided to do this business, because one day we're going to be able to have this because I started this business. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to say, oh, now this business has created this if it hasn't, but you can say, this is why I hope for this to happen. Okay. So write your story. And what would be really cool is if you guys like paired up and you practice telling each other the story, because you only get better at doing it. The first time it feels really awkward. I mean, here I am telling you guys my story and I'm a little bit awkward, right? It's just going to get easier with time. So, you know, if we want to pair up, I can post it into the event and you guys can choose a partner and say, hey, let's just tell each other a story and do it via voice message. Okay. And try to keep it to 3 minutes your first time. You should have a 3-minute story and then a 10-minute story, right? Because not everyone can listen to you for 10 minutes. Right? Okay, so how do you share your story with people? How do you get people to listen to you, right? So there are 2 ways that I'm going to give you guys, and there's multiple ways, but here are 2 ways. So one way is I've been following up with everyone that I talked to about the business last year. So I messaged them and I said like, hey, Samantha, I was thinking about you today, and it's been about a year since we talked about this business, and I was thinking about our conversation. I don't think I ever shared my story with you. I've actually become a lot more courageous about sharing my journey with others, and I would love to share my story with you. If you're open to it, what time today or tomorrow works best? Okay, so I basically said, you know, hey, it doesn't have to be a year ago. So you could say, hey, I was thinking about you today and our conversation that we had last year about becoming business partners. And I realized I didn't share my story with you. I've learned how to be a little bit more bold in telling others about my journey. And if you're open to it, I would love to share that with you. What time today or tomorrow works best for me to share my story? Okay. And then you share your story when it's time. You tell them via voice message, or if you want to call them, you can call them. Most people don't like to talk on the phone. I don't. Okay. But that's the option. Okay. So you can do it via voice message. All right. Now, what do you do at the end? And I was like, what do I do after I tell my story? I'm like, okay, there's my story. What now? It felt really awkward. So you say, what part of my story resonates the most with you? Or what part of my story do you connect with the most? And you're asking them what they feel connected to or what resonates with them. And then you can dive in deeper to Eric Worre's questions. Okay. And he has these questions. You definitely need to go through his training because it walks you through the questions to ask them. Perfect. Okay. So the second way, what is the second way you can share their story? So I would say this. Hey, Emily, I've been seeing your stuff on Facebook for a while. And honestly, I just love how positive you are. I love your personality. I think we have so much in common. And I would love to get to know you better. But I'm just curious if you were at least the least bit open to hearing my story or letting me share my story with you about how I started this business. Okay, so what you're saying is like, hey, I've been seeing you on Facebook and I would love to get to know you better. But first, I'm curious if you're a little bit open to me sharing my story with you of how I got started in this business. Okay, so someone else, one of the top earners, actually it is the top earner in this business, Whitney Husband, she was sharing this and she said that it's better when you're like creating that relationship with someone, just start it first off with your story. Because have you ever had someone where they're like talking to you and you're getting to know each other and maybe you're talking about your kids or something and then they're like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this business with me? And you're like, wow, they just wanted to get to know me so that they could share their business with me, right? Have you ever felt that and it was like a little bit sleazy? So if you start out with that in the very beginning, say, I want to get to know you better, but first I wanted to see if you're open, okay? It's not saying, I want to see if you want to do this with me. So you say, open to hearing my story of how I started this business, okay? So you're asking them if they're open, and then if they say no, not really, or I'm not interested, then you go into the personal conversation and you start just talking and being friends and going to the relationship part of it, okay? So sharing your story is very personal. It's not salesy or pushing, saying, are you open to hearing my story? Are you open to me sharing my story with you? Any questions about those two things? Ladies. All right. Does anyone have like feedback of what they're like taking from this? Or Mindy has a question. Go ahead, Mindy.
When you're reaching out to the people on Facebook, when you're doing that, is that people who are just watching your live or have looked at your pictures about your business, or is that just people that you see on Facebook in general?
Good question. Okay, so it could be both. I typically reach out to people that I have seen them like or comment on any of my posts. It doesn't have to be just business related. If they like or comment, or they share a video, or they hop on my tutorials, or they're in my business or like my VIP group, those are people I feel okay reaching out to because obviously we have some sort of connection, right? Now you can definitely cold message people. I don't do a lot of cold messages, but you can definitely do that. But for example, I sent a message to someone yesterday. She was I was super scared to do it because she would be perfect. You know, the people that would be perfect, you're a little bit nervous about it. So I reached out to her and I just said, hey, I've been looking at your stuff on Facebook. We've been Facebook friends for a while. I've been friends with her sister a long time ago, but I haven't really been close with her. But I've always commented on her stuff. She's commented on some of my stuff. She knows what I do. I know what she does. So I said, hey, I've been looking at your stuff. I connect a lot with what you share. And she loves Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A. I would love to get to know you. But I'm just curious if you are a little bit open to me sharing my story with you of how I got started in this business. And she didn't respond. But it's okay because I feel like when I went about it in a very personal way, saying, hey, I want to share my story with you versus, hey, let me show you my business. This is my journey. And sometimes it's a little bit scarier sharing your journey because you're sharing your pain, you're sharing your vulnerability, and that's like a whole another step. So Emily asked, would you prefer sharing your story live or in messages? So according to Eric Worre and other people, you're going to get a lot more results one-on-one with people, because in a group, people get lost. Like in a live video, people get lost. So you can definitely share your story in a group setting, whether you have people come over to your house or you're doing a live video, but you're going to get a lot better results if you're doing one-on-one, because you're having that conversation and it feels a lot more personal versus them looking at a screen. Yeah, what other questions do you guys have? How many of you guys are going to be sharing your story now? Me? Okay. You know, do you notice how this could be so like life-changing for your business? How people can connect to you so much more deeply because of your story? It's so cool how, I know Caitlin and Samantha, guess what? They can connect to each other because they both have similar backgrounds where they both are moms, right? And they're doing this business because they're both moms. And so there's that connection. That's exactly what you're doing. You're sharing your story to see who it connects with. And then those that it connect with and those that it resonates with are the people that are going to do this with you. And those are the people you want to do this business with. All right, let me look at my notes and see if there's anything else. Awesome. If you guys want to watch the video that I watched from Whitney Husband, it was really good. I can send you guys a link to that. And then also, Eric Worre, you guys, this stuff is gold. Like his questions here are so good. I went through this and it really does work. This is great because I struggle with messaging people to join the business. Yeah, so Emily, if you lead with your story, I know, girl, you're very open. You're a very open person. So imagine the difference of being able to share your story, right? And telling, hey, girl, I'd love to share my story with you. If you're open to it, what time today works best for you, right? And you feel that? And then you keep your story to 3 minutes if you're doing voice messenger. If you're talking over the phone, maybe 5 minutes or so. Okay? So these questions are part of his training. I think they're course 8 or course 7 in his sponsor 20 and 30. But basically, after I'm going to give you guys these questions if you want to write them down, okay? Since we have like 2 minutes. This book is free, Jennifer. All of his stuff is free in your back office. Yeah, it's free. I just downloaded it and printed it. Okay, so question number 1. Okay, so if you shared the video with them, like the third-party tool, like the opportunity video, you would ask, what did you like best from what I showed you? What did you like best is the first question. If you're sharing your story, you can say, what part of my story resonated with you the most? Or what part of my story do you connect with the most? Okay. Question number 2. On a scale of 1 through 10, if 1 is you have 0 interest in doing anything like this, and 10 means you're ready to get started right now, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay. And Eric Worre says anything that's above a 1 is good. You can still turn it around even if it's a 1. But mostly if they're like 6, 7, or 8, then those people are highly likely to do this business with you. Okay? The lower they are, the less likely, but the higher they are, the more likely, okay? Question number 3. If you decided to do this business with me, about how much money would you need to make each month to make it worth your time? So if you decide to do this, hypothetically, you can even put that, I've done that. Hypothetically, okay, let's say you did this with me. How much money would you need to make each month to make this worth your time? Okay? Most people are going to say 500, 1,000, all that. Okay? Number 4, how many hours a week realistically could you commit to developing that income? How many hours a week could you commit to developing that income? Okay, so there, you know, a lot of people are going to say like 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, right? If they're saying a lot of hours, you're like, dude, why are you doing this? Okay, but they also want to be like realistic. So like some people I've had in the past have said, you know, I want to make $5,000 and I'm willing to pay 2 hours a week. Okay, those people, no. Okay, so you have to ask them. And so usually I like to ask them, okay, if you started a new job, okay, and you were working 2 hours a week, how much would you expect to make for 1 month? How much would you expect to make each month? And if they're saying, oh, probably like $500, then you're like, okay, so realistically, do you think that you can expect $5,000 a month from working 2 hours a week? No, okay, you see? Okay, so that's how you can ask them. All right, so how many hours? Number 5, how many months would you be willing to work that many hours while you develop that amount? So if someone says, okay, how many months would you be willing to work 10 hours a week to develop $1,000 a month? How long? How many months would you give it? So they say, a lot of people say 6 months, right? So 6 months. So 6 months, I would give it to working 10 hours a week to develop $500 a month, okay? So then number 6, if I could show you, work hands-on with you, one-on-one with you, and show you how to develop that income working $10 hours a week, flexible hours, and you could develop that over 6 months, would you be ready to get started? So if I could show you how to do this, if I could show you how to work 10 hours a week and build your income up to $500 a month in the next 6 months, would you be ready to get started and do this with me? All right, and if they say yes, great. If they say no, then you can say, okay, so they're not really ready to do this, they're not ready to get started. Okay, so those are the questions to close it, to wrap it up, and to see if they want to do this with you. Any questions about those questions? Okay, but this will also, when I ask these questions, I was telling Jen, who is our Black status, I said, Jen, when I ask these questions, I feel like it makes it so much more serious and it makes it feel more like a business, right? Because sometimes I've treated my business like it's just, hey, let's just do this together, you get a kit, cool, and treated it almost like a hobby when I share it with others. But asking these hours makes me feel like I'm taking it more seriously when I'm seeing who's interested in doing this so that they take it more seriously. You feel the difference? Because you're like, okay, so if you're serious about doing this, how many hours? How much do you want to make? How long would you give it, right? And then I feel like they're going to take it more seriously because of how I shared it with them in the conversation we had. Awesome. All right, girls. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Go through Eric Worre's training. I think his video is like 30 minutes. He's a lot better speaker than I am because he's trained on this. I'm just sharing with you guys what I've learned from him, and it's just so good. Love the Eric Worre stuff. Need to go back and watch 4 more times. So I know I've gone through the first steps training twice already, and then I'm rewatching the 20 and 30 for the second and third time because I'm trying to memorize how to do these things. I'm new, you guys. I'm new to this kind of format, so we're learning this together, and it's okay if you're not like amazing at it in the beginning. That's why we practice, right? I'm sharing my story tonight. Am I scared? Yeah. Am I going to do it? Yeah. Am I going to get better? Yeah. Okay. So do the scary stuff and share your story, okay? So I'm going to post in the event to see if you guys want to choose a partner to practice with, because this is safe, right? Face-to-face with these other girls. You can practice with your husband. You can practice with a family member or a friend. And if you have some best friends that maybe don't know your story about this business, tell her, hey girl, I just need a friendly face to share my story with. I learned something new. Would you be open to hearing my story so I can practice? Okay. You can do that with people in your life that are your close friends. Awesome. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hopping on. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. I'm going to be live at 9 o'clock in my story group, and I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye, guys.